Hi everybody, welcome back to OCA today, where we're back in the bird room for the first time in about a month now. We're not on the road this week at one of the many Cage Bird Society shows or specialist shows around the UK. So I thought we'll have a look at some general management tips to help the birds throughout these winter months, these really cold months as it is at the moment. You might be able to see some steam from my breath, so it is quite cold in here. We'll do an update on generally the condition of the birds and how we're keeping them happy and healthy, and we'll take a look at our mule and hybrid pairs and see how they're getting on for us as well. So the first thing I want to talk to you about today is the management of our show team. So my show team this winter has consisted between about 8 and 15 birds, depending on the show, and that's of all different mules and hybrids that I've either bred or brought in from different breeders, and some native hardbills that I may have bred or bought in either on the purpose of the shows and of course breeding stock. So we've got 12 birds here that are all divided out into single breeding or holding cages. Now there's a very good reason that we have them in these single cages, and the main one is actually just easier to catch them up. So these cages are 2 feet wide, they're 18 inches tall and they're 18 inches deep. So they're actually quite large by general standards, and I wanted them that way when I knew that we'd be having these custom built for the purpose of natives, mules and hybrids. But by having them on these individual cages, it means I don't have to go into a flight and try and catch the bird up with 50 others with a net, because it'll stress them out far more. So when we're catching them up to take them to the shows, one door and grab the bird, put it in the show cage, and it's done. And it's very easy and as stress-free as we possibly can make it. I've set these cages up to try and replicate as close as I possibly can to a show cage itself, other than the space. So I've put together the perches as close as I possibly can to replicate that of a show cage. So the bird, when it does go into a show cage, is comfortable with that environment. It knows already how to work the perches back and forth, and it's just a lot more comfortable for them, and they seem a lot more happier in that way. We've of course got the water, very easy access through the front for them, and the feeders are hoppers to help try and keep the floor in the bottom of the cages as clean as possible, so the birds aren't picking up any seeds that might be contaminated with feces, so the birds can't poo inside of these hoppers. By having the birds in these individual cages, it means that I can treat their needs as I see fit on them on a personal level. So I know, for example, this particular red poll has a very high metabolism. When I give it fattening seeds, it burns off the energy really quick and takes a lot to actually put some fat on that's going to help keep it warm for this winter. Whereas I know there's a greenfinch at the end over here that he has a very low metabolism, he puts on weight really easily and he holds it far easily. So I can tailor the diets of the birds to their individual needs, and that works really well for me. When showing birds, we want everything to be absolutely perfect, and that of course also means the feather condition, because at the end of the day, that is the main thing that the judges are looking for. So to stop the birds being bullied or pushed out of a bath, we can have them in these individual cages, so when we put a bath on the front, they aren't competing for that side. They can go and bath as much as they want and preen themselves as much as they want to give themselves the best chance on the show bench and give them the best feather quality that we can expect from that bird. So during these excessively cold months, it's important to make sure that our birds are well insulated. Now, this particular bird room does have a lot of insulation in it, including in the roof and the walls, but I do want it to have some degree of cold in here, because I want it to replicate how it would be, or at least similar to, in the wild of the natural cycle of the earth. Of course, it going winter and all the different seasons. So something I do to make sure that our birds are fine and are living and happy and warm in this environment when it is cold is I give them some fattening mixes. Now, what I've been doing is I've been soaking some seeds. So this particular seed, it's got rape, it's got mung beans, it's got safflower, amongst other different types of seeds in there. We'll get that, put some water in there, and just like that, we're going to now germinate some seeds. So I'm going to leave this seed to soak some water up for 24 hours. I'm going to take it into the house so it's a little bit warmer, so it will germinate quicker. We'll put some cling film over it for another 24 to 48 hours give it a rinse through, and it's ready to serve for the birds. And as you can see here, this is some that I prepared earlier in a sieve, ready to give our birds. I always like to give my birds a varied diet no matter what season it is, but especially in the winter, as well as the germinated seeds like the rape, I also give them a mix of hard seeds. So I'm going to put a mix together that's going to consist of all sorts of different hard seeds: safflower, blue moor, linseed, niger, sunflower hearts, a pigeon conditioner with all sorts of different things in there, including corn, and actually a health seed with various grass seeds and other small seeds in there. Put all those mixed together in equal parts, and we'll serve it up to the birds in some finger draws and some egg draws. So I wanted to give you a quick update on our mule and hybrid pairs, and we'll see how they're getting on now. Last time you saw these guys was about 6 weeks ago. They were in some single breeding cages when we first paired them up, like the show birds are now, but we've since moved the 2 pairs behind us here. So the first pair, we've got the Goldie Red Poll pair. They're doing quite well, to be honest. I've seen a few signs of aggression where they've been a little bit territorial, let's say, around the food pot, but that's generally been a little bit of nothing, probably just one bird eating the seed the other bird wanted. So nothing too major. I have seen them feeding each other a time or two, which is obviously a bit of a contrast compared to them, having a go at each other. And they have been roosting together some nights at the back on the fake Christmas tree. So I do have high hopes for this pair. I think so far, 6 weeks to a month in, they're doing all right. So hopefully a couple more months like this and we might get some success come the breeding season. And we do have our crossbill mule pair behind me here. So this is a Norwich Canary cockbird, a yellow intensive, and a 2-bar cross parrot crossbill hen. So a bit of a mix there, and I'm hoping this pair will get on all right for us. The crossbill will come into condition earlier than the canary, so I am going to have to try and get a midpoint between the two's breeding seasons. The Norwich is generally something that will probably go to breed April, May. The crossbill probably March to May. So we have probably about a month crossover period. So I'm going to try and get them aligned up quite nicely, but we'll see what happens. The Norwich has been singing to the crossbill hen. They have been feeding each other, so it is looking promising. It's just whether we can get them to sync or not with their breeding seasons. But we'll see what happens. It's all something to learn from, get some experience with, and maybe we'll produce some, maybe we won't, I don't know. And finally, we will have probably one extra hybrid pair next year, but I can't give you too much more information on that yet. I'm still waiting on one of the birds arriving, but it will be soon. We will be pairing them up soon, and that's going to be quite an exciting one. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So finally, to finish off this week's episode, I thought we'll have a bit of a 360 look around at the birds in this particular bird room and how they're overwintering. So we've got our lesser red polls here, both cocks and hens at the moment. I've put them all in a big flight cage together just to get them socialising, get them interacting. I've been putting some millet in there for them and they've been really enjoying that. And we've got some hang-up feeders for them as well now. Keep the food off the floor, keep contamination low, and they've been getting on really quite well. We've got a 5-year-old cockbird or 6-year-old cockbird in there who's looking excellent. So they're all in really good health. We've got, of course, the hybrid pairs, and down below we've got our canaries. So we've got some young feeder canaries down here and some young frill canaries down here. So some Northwich frills and some other crossbred feeders there. They're all for next season. We've of course got the show birds across the back wall. We've got a couple of spare mules actually just down here, and on the very bottom rows there's a couple of canaries that are looking for new homes, or have got new homes anyway, but not yet being collected. So we've got those down there. They're all looking all right. And then to come round to this far wall, we've got a couple of young red poles on the top that we bred this season that I'll be keeping for next year, which I'm not showing these at the moment. We've got 2 Siberian Goldicocks down here, pair of Siberian bullfinches, a young pair as well. We've got our flighted canary cockbirds I'll be keeping for next year. And then we've got a couple of little secrets or new additions down on the bottom. Everything else outside is doing really well. The rewilding project birds are doing excellent. We've got the green finches in the far shed looking really good, and I'm hoping that we'll get a bit more time to go and select through those soon as to what we're going to keep and what we'll be moving on in terms of next year's breeding season. And we've got flight that's connected to where the green finches are with a secret new addition pair of birds that you might see next week. I'm not sure. They're still settling in, so I'm not going to rush them yet, but it's going to be quite an exciting one when you do see those. Anyway, everyone, that's it from me for this week's episode from OC Aviary. I really hope you've enjoyed today, seeing all the birds and how everything's getting on since we've not been in here in probably over a month now. So if you've enjoyed it today and you'd like to see more from OC Aviary, please make sure to subscribe down below. That would be very much appreciated. Smash a like on it if you have enjoyed it, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for daily updates and behind the scenes footage of all of our birds. Now, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.